Well, folks, I can't believe it, but fall is just around the corner. So I thought, what better time than to show you how to make some of these, some harvest trays. So stay tuned and I'll show you how I build these harvest trays. And to make the bottom and sides of the tray, I'll use my bandsaw with a resaw blade and take a thick piece of stock like this and resaw this into thin strips that'll be rough sawn to make up the bottom and the sides of the tray. All right, so you saw me resaw the sides and the bottom here. I have 5 pieces and I'm making actually 2 trays today. So I've got those ready to go, and I have the material for the ends, or this end here with the handle on it. And to make the end with the handle, I have a template, and I will actually link this template in the pinned comment down below, so check that out. So the next thing we're going to do is cut the end blanks to their appropriate length to fit this template, and then I'll rough this out either on the bandsaw or the scroll saw, whichever one you have, and I'll cut this out, and then we will use the router to fine tune this, do a round over on the edges to make this feel really nice. And these are supposed to be rugged, so I mean, not rugged, but rough. And you could plane the sides and make this more refined, because you could either use this out in your garden to pick tomatoes or whatever, and dig up potatoes and pick beans, whatever you're going to do, or you could put it on your table in the dining room, your kitchen, breakfast area, and have decorations in it. So on this template, I do have a stop here, so this fits up against the bottom edge here. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap on the, or a little bit of extra hanging over on the sides. Then you just take a pencil and mark all the way around this. This is just a rough marking. So there's one. There's some knots that I don't really want to have to deal with here. And I will put a plug in really quickly. If you are in the market for a miter saw, this Metabo 12-inch is a great value. I've been using this saw for about 2 months now, and man, what a difference it makes to have something quality like this. This thing is rock solid, and highly recommend this saw. It's not that expensive either, not as expensive as, say, the Bosch or the Makita. I don't have my dust collection on just because of filming purposes. It's just too loud. All right, so now I can take these over to the scroll saw right here, and I'm gonna actually just take one of them over to the scroll saw and the other one to the bandsaw. All right, just a quick disclaimer here. This is a resaw blade, and I'm not going to change that out. So this is gonna be, we're just gonna get this pretty close because we're gonna use the router on this piece, and then we'll use the Forstner bit and drill this handhold out. So I'm gonna cut the dust collection on for this one. So I've just roughly cut this out, as you can see. And then we will apply the template and get that close, and you can see there's a lip there, so the bearing on the router will ride on the edge of the template and match this piece up to the template. And like I said, I'll drill out the hand hole here with a couple of Forstner bits, and we'll run the router in here as well. All right, so I have my blank here. I've drilled a hole so that I can feed the blade through that hole and cut the interior out. So we're going to do that first. And if you don't have a scroll saw, or you do have a scroll saw, dig that thing out from the corner where it's all collecting dust and everything, and get to using this machine. I have said this in the past, I have fallen in love with this thing. There's just so much you can do with a scroll saw. I had no idea. So pull that thing out of the corner, dust it off, and start using it for even simple things like this. Then you can take this over to your spindle sander and kind of straighten up some of these jagged edges that I've created here. I bent my blade. This is a Pegas number 7 modified geometry blade. And let me straighten that out. That might snap on us. All right. All right, now I'm going to cut the outside of this around the edges here. That blade is worn out. So there we have this, and we can go and sand this a little bit with the spindle sander and kind of get the edges trued up. But there you go. You don't have to use a router. You can just use your scroll saw and cut it to the exact size. All right, so I drilled the holes out. I just hogged that out with the Forstner bit over at the drill press. So all I do is take the template, line that up, and to attach it to the workpiece, I just take a couple of finishing nails and I tack those right into place. Now, if you don't want to do that, double-sided tape. But like I said, I'm making a set of rough and ready. This will go on the inside of the tray, so it'll be the end. It'll be angled like this. Well, I can hear the comments already. I've used this thing like this before. It's in my nice vise, and let's do this. we have quite the mess. That's really quick, and the template's got a ding in it. It looks like there was some void inside the template there, so I might have to make a new template. So it does have like a blemish, but oh well, it happens. So then to separate the template from the piece, you just pull those nails out, and you've got a couple little nail holes to deal with right here. So right there and right there. But that is an exact replica of the template. All right, the other thing that I have done to these end pieces with handles is I've taken those over to my table saw and I've ripped the piece right off the edge, and this is a 20-degree bevel on this bottom edge here, and that's so that when we assemble this thing, they are angled out like that. So I didn't show that. You could do that on the scroll saw while you're sitting there. Before you cut the shape out, you could probably cut that angle on your miter saw as well. But if you have a table saw, that's the safest and easiest way to do this. But you have to do it before you cut the shape out. That said, we also need to cut the ends of our sides at 20 degrees as well. So I've got a couple pieces here that have some damage to them. If I can get the angle right to show you that. So both of them have some damage there, and I'm going to cut the angle. I'm going to cut the angle this way, so hopefully I'll get rid of most of this. So let's go over to the miter saw and set that up. Now I have my miter saw set to 20 degrees off of 90, and so we're going to cut these from the corner back. So we didn't get rid of all of that, but we did get rid of most of it. So we'll cut the other end, blade up right with the end of the board. And there you go. Got these cut. Got to do a little bit of sanding to kind of clean these up a little bit, get rid of the fuzzies. So I have my router set back up, and we're going to round over all of these edges here to make these nice and soft to the touch around the handles and everything. So let's do that really, really quick. So you don't want to round over the ends of this. You just want to do the surfaces up here on the top where your hands are going to be, and you want it nice and soft up in this area. So we've got those ready, and I think now we can do some assembly. All right, so I'm going to be nailing these together, and a 5/8 inch or a 3/4 inch brad, an 18 gauge brad will work for this, because most of what's going to hold this together is Type Bond 3, and because you may use this in your actual garden, you need to use outdoor glue, which is Type Bond 3. This is waterproof glue. And really quick, let me circle back, because you don't have to cut this bevel on the bottom of this. These could be straight up and down if you'd like. They don't have to be angled. I think it gives it a little bit of a flair to it. And when I make at the end of the video, when I have all this assembled and I make this second set, I'll show you why these are at an angle. So I haven't actually measured any of this. If you remember, I cut these on the, I resawed these on the bandsaw, and it was already this length. So sometimes I just let the wood tell me what it wants to be. So holding this in the vise here is a lot easier. We're eyeballing this now. So I'm putting glue on here. I'm going to line up the edges on this edge along with the bottom. And I'm going to shoot some brads in here. Just 3, that's all you need. All right, so let's nail this other side piece on. Again, lining it up with the end piece. Well, let's do it this way. Get that lined up like that. I'm pushing down and in. Once you get that brad in there, you can kind of adjust it. So there we got this end going. I'm going ahead and put glue on both ends of this, because I'm going to have to spread this apart. I'm going to turn this up this way because it's a lot easier to do it like this. I'm matching up the bottom and this edge here. Don't worry about this little bit of an overhang here on the end. We'll go back and take care of this little edge here, because it's on all 4 corners. All right. Now what we got to do, and we're probably going to have to lengthen these, or shorten these, excuse me, not lengthen them. And if you notice, you know, we have a gap in here. You can leave that if you'd like. I will probably put another one in here, and that means we'll have to have 6 of the side pieces like this, rather than just 5. So, you know, or you could, you know, it's however you want to make these. It's all up to you and how you would like for it to look, and really the application you're going to use this in, right? I don't cut the ends of these at 20 degrees. I guess I probably should, but you know, you can leave them a little short if you'd like, so it doesn't overhang the end here, or so it doesn't overhang the end here. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got them kind of shortened up a little bit. So I'll figure out what I want to do. I think I like this. That way I don't have to cut another one. But like I said, you can butt these together and, you know, figure out how these need to be ripped to make this work. And I actually have another one here, so you can see there, that'd be solid, a solid bottom all the way across. It depends on what you're going to use this for. All right, I'm going to mark these and cut those off with the miter saw, and then we're going to nail these on in with some sort of spacing. So I just evened the ends up on this, on one end, marked one piece and cut them all at the same time. So I got this kind of situated in my clamp so that it doesn't really move around a whole lot. And like I said, I'm gonna halfway eyeball these things. That's 4 3/4 on both sides. All right, so I got this position where I want. Just gonna put a little mark. I'm gonna put some glue on this. Line that back up with my marks. Keep in mind this is angled, so you know the brads need to kind of angle that way rather than straight up and down. Especially if you're using the longer ones, they're going to come out on the straight side of the. If you shot them vertically, they're going to come out on this surface on the inside. So keep that in mind. All right, and we just use a little spacer as a ruler as a spacer, because we know this one's pretty much perpendicular with the or lined up with the center. Gonna stick that in there, even up the ends. Shoot that one, make sure we're good. About shot that at the wrong angle. Put this one into place. Didn't take my own advice there. And as soon as this dries, this thing will be nice and stiff. So there you have it. That's one that you can actually use in the garden for sure. Let's deal with these overhangs here. You can use a Shinto rasp like this one here. It's like a bunch of hacksaw blades that are put together, or you can use a regular file like this one here. So make sure that you go with the grain, not back against the grain. And of course the file is going to take you longer, but this Shinto rasp it takes care of it in a hurry. And I'm using the fine side, so if you use the rough side, just be careful. Just be careful when you get down. You don't want to rip the fibers off or anything like that. So we have rolled that over. Let's see what that looks like on the back side here. So I will address all 4 of these corners. All right, so I have made a second one, and earlier in the video I talked about why this was angled at 20 degrees, and that's so these will fit together and you can stack them up. So yeah, I mean, if you had a vineyard or something like that, and you could make these, and once your customers are done with them, they could stack them up and you know, put them back into place and make it easy to store them. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this video today as I make some of these harvest trays, and I show you how I make these and the different styles that you can come up with, and the process that I go through in creating these. I really appreciate that. If you would, please comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.